advantage of market downturns, right? Well, this is insane. I don't, look, if you've been following my channel, I know I'm speechless. For a long time, I've been talking about why you want to own specific cryptocurrencies, right? I have all these fancy YouTube buddies that call me up all the time and go, "Why are you holding that crap coin?" And I go, "Well, it's because they're gonna do business around the world with banks, and they're going to do business with governments, and the government, the U.S. government's going to buy it." I'm talking about XRP, right? This is why I own it, for making money, and people just don't get it. They don't understand the fundamentals. You know, people get like attached to one coin like Bitcoin, and everything else is crap. And I'm like, you know, there's gonna be a day where on a percentage basis, XRP blows past that. Okay. All right. So let's see. So XRP is up. ADA, like if any of you own ADA, you are killing it today. What is ADA up to right now? 66% in the last 24 hours. Solana's up 21.79. And you know what's great? There are a couple projects, I'm gonna say it right now, that are on the sidelines right now that were in a dip, and I was buying up as much as I can. So let me announce what I just bought. And if you want to call me a shell, I guess you can call me a shell. I just doubled my position on XCN, Onyx coin. And the reason why I did that was because, it was actually very simple. Watch this, when I go to the spot right now, is because you're gonna see a lot of people making a lot of money in XRP, Bitcoin, on Solana and stuff, and it's gonna start to sort of top out, and then you're gonna see that money in the next week or so flow in to specific altcoins, and specifically DeFi. If you don't understand what we're trying to do with the DeFi course and why it's so darn expensive, it's because it's only for people that are serious, not people that have been sitting on the sidelines that buy courses and don't take them, that people that are like, hey, I've got like $5,000 or more, and I want to know exactly what the Ninja and Dylan are doing, how they're deploying their money, and then how they're using those projects, like staking them and getting like 30% a year rate of return, or being able to be part of something and understanding risk management that's bigger than what most people understand. So you're going to start seeing a lot of these. I'd call $100 million market cap a micro cap in crypto. Honestly, that's sort of my personal definition. And I think you're going to see those explode higher on a percentage basis than you see right now with XRP, ADA, and all those ones, right? Now, you saw if you're following me on X, you see some of the positions I take and what I'm buying when I'm buying it. And I made an announcement that I put another significant chunk into my XLM position, right? Well, XLM right now is like what I was doing with XRP at 20 cents. I was accumulating, right? I'm no longer accumulating XRP. I have enough, all right? That's a big enough position. Then I go into another long-term hold, and XLM is doing exactly what I expected on a percentage basis. It's going right up past HBAR. A lot of people ask me about HBAR. Great company, right? Do I own any right now? No, that's a trading position. But on my long-term holds, XLM, I think that you're going to see out of the major market caps, XLM just blow past XRP on a percentage of gain in the next handful of months. I know it's hard for people to wrap their mind around it. Type 1 if this makes sense. It doesn't, just type 2. I'm just curious if this makes sense, right? So XRP, that's my largest holding, right? Then Bitcoin, then XLM, right? I don't sell any of those. I'm no longer accumulating Bitcoin, no longer accumulating XRP. I'm holding them, not selling them. I'm gonna sell them at much higher prices this year. Then I'm accumulating XLM as my the big three. Then how I'm making money is, yeah, I put some of my paycheck in, things like that, or from my companies, I invest in that, but it's because I'm trading these micro caps, right? I keep a core position in good ones, and this is why I haven't been talking about it, because I'm not gonna go out and talk about what I wanna buy if I already said I bought this for this reason, and you haven't heard me talk about, well, I'm selling it because the team sucks, they're not, hitting their objectives, then that means I'm still buying. And so I get hit up on X all the time. Why aren't you talking about this? Well, I'm not gonna pump your bags. I'm too busy actually trying to own a percentage of the company. That's the reality. And this is what gets me super pumped and excited. So I'm pretty sure over the next week, keep an eye on XCN. That'll probably be pretty good. I won't be selling it anywhere near this level. I think it's already gotten beat up enough, and it has a massive announcement coming out tomorrow. What is it, Goliath? Something like that. And if
I'm gonna go maybe another half hour. I don't know, I can't watch skating right now.
When I saw these results, I knew that I was looking at something truly significant. Cold, hard evidence that leaves no doubt that these vases were designed and then executed with incredible precision in very difficult material. I don't know how to express just how groundbreaking I think that these findings are. Here is real, incontrovertible proof that something very sophisticated was going on long ago.
Oh man.
You can't challenge the data itself. The scans are all available. And if you have the capability, you can work out the math for yourself. There's no black box involved here. If you take this data for what it is, then it should have a seismic impact on our understanding of the capabilities of ancient civilizations. Of course, not everybody wants to take this data for what it is, and several people very much seem to dislike the implications of it and have gone on personal crusades to debunk the findings any way they can. Well, I say any way they can, but given all of the open source scans and the hard data, the only way that's emerged is to yell fake on the internet like a flat earther who's looking at globe photos from a Japanese satellite. No one is able to argue with the actual data, so it generally boils down to noisily trying to discredit the origins of the artifacts and distract the audience away from the significance of the findings. That's more or less what the whole provenance argument is. It's a fancy word used to suggest that most of these vases are nothing more than modern fakes. There's been a couple of reaction videos that have taken this approach, implying that because we don't know the exact circumstances of when, where, how, and by whom all of these ancient artifacts were extracted from Egypt, then they must just be modern fakes, and we could ignore all this pesky data and hard facts about precision.
Right.
There's so much stupid in this statement that it's tough to know where to start, but let's give it a go. As previously mentioned, it's easy to just throw out an unqualified assertion like that. Yelling fake on the internet only takes a sentence or two, but adequately responding to it requires paragraphs, as the actual discussion and provenance topic is full of context and nuance. Seeing as we're here, let's point out a few of the many ways this modern forgery argument just doesn't hold up. First of all, I don't think that the people making this accusation fully understand how provenance or the antiquities market, for that matter, actually work, or they're deliberately misrepresenting it. They seem to act like any artifact not in a museum, say for example one in a private collection, must be either stolen or fake, and on that basis try and discredit everything about it. Even Flint Dibble shamefully took this approach when in a discussion about vase analysis with Matt Bell on Twitter, petulantly responded to him by throwing shade on the origins of the artifact, suggesting Matt stop buying looted vases and then rage quitting the conversation and blocking Matt. You see how it works? Do whatever you can to distract away from the actual evidence and the important parts of the discussion, which is of course the utterly astonishing precision, and just loudly make unfounded accusations. For what it's worth, and while we're talking about everyone's favourite budget Indiana Jones, let me address the many people who have suggested that I should debate or discuss these topics with Flint. I generally disagree with this idea. I think it would be both frustrating and, to be honest, an utter waste of time, because he's got quite literally nothing to offer on the topic. He's not an engineer. He doesn't understand precision. And look, none of this is his fault, nor is that a negative statement. It's just not what archaeologists do. That said, I also find it incredibly unlikely that he would ever even accept or acknowledge the data and findings of this project. I suspect any discussion between him and I will just be us talking past each other.
You're saying that they did this out of granite, by hand, with the naked eye, no measuring,
Think about it like this, Danny.
within 1/1000th of an inch.
Well, let me explain why. It's just like a compass. You have a compass.
And that's another question. Why? Why does it have to be so perfect?
Well, it's just the way they're making it that makes it so perfect, is what I'm trying to explain.
I mean, you just have to watch what he had to say on this topic on the Danny Jones podcast, when he was challenged by Danny on the vases.
We also have tomb paintings that show how these are being made with a drill that you rotate around. And so with a flint drill bit and stuff like that.
He went down the standard route of pointing to the steles and the inscriptions that show the ancient Egyptians making alabaster vases with primitive hand tools and saying, see, that's how they made it. Well, as we had discussed previously, it's obvious to anyone with eyes in their head that the alabaster vases are not precise. They're not the same thing as the hardstone vases, and they're obviously handmade. Flint is either ignorant of the facts or he's being deliberately disingenuous, as the process Flint is pointing to here does not show them making precision hard stone vases. As we went through, it's specific to the imprecise alabaster vessels, and this is in fact the mainstream archaeological position. He's going against his academic colleagues here in a sneaky attempt to try and just smear this process across the whole precision-based topic.
I have no
Remember,
health.
he studied seeds and foodways in ancient Greece, not the artifacts of ancient Egypt. So look, let's give him the benefit of the doubt here. And
I have no health and they gave me the slow pause.
if he wants to learn what this
It's
process
encouraging,
really
though.
means, he can visit the Imhotep Museum in Saqqara, home of the Step Pyramid and home to the discovery of 40 to 50,000 stone vases, as well as being the home of the inscriptions that depict this process. What it says in that museum about this process specifically is as follows. Quote, during the reign of Djoser, Imhotep, as a master craftsman, supervised the production of vessels in calcite, Egyptian alabaster, instead of the harder stone used more commonly in the early dynastic period. Vessels were shaped first with chloride pounders and copper chisels. The inside was hollowed by using a drill formed by a wooden shaft, with a crank at the top and flint blade at the bottom. Two heavy stones were placed on top of the drill to press it into the stone. End quote. It's literally written right on the walls in the museum that is dedicated to the discovery of ancient vases that this process is not of them making hardstone vases. It is specifically for the alabaster industry.
And so you have the drill, and then you have the bit that comes out here. That's at a set distance from the center of that. It's the radius of a circle, if you see what I mean. As it spins around, it's just making a perfect circumference. Just like how a compass works. You don't need high tech to do that. It's just the motion of creating it in a circular way that's going to naturally make it reasonably perfect, if you see what I mean.
So is that what the Egyptologists, the conventional Egyptologists say about these? That they were made on circular
bits, so drill that's moving around
circular drill bits.
Yeah.
But how did they open it up on the? I'm sorry. How did they open it up on the inside?
Well, you put something in and then you attach it. So there's a wooden thing going in, and you attach the drill bit on it so that it circles around. If you're making
Wood?
if you, the thing you're spinning is wood and flint stone is attached.
It's almost painful that I have to explain something that seems so obvious. The alabaster work is clearly the result of a primitive process like this. The hardstone vases are, on the other hand, precise, perfect, infinitely more difficult to make, and just as clearly not the result of a primitive process.
The nice thing about this display and all of these thousands of fragments of vessels that we see down here, you can see the difference between the handmade work and the precise part work. See these alabaster vessels, they're handmade, right? They're thicker on one side, they're thinner on the other. They're not symmetrical. It's, the bottoms, you don't see a tubular drill in part of the bottom. This is the result of the manual hand turning, hand stuff. And then compare it to you compare it to what you see in the hardstone vessel, much harder stone. This is a fragment of a vessel that would sat here. It has a flat bottom. You have a tubular drill mark in the center that's very pronounced. You can feel it where they pull this out, they snap this core off. And then you see things that I think is some of the most impressive aspects of these vessels is the tapering. So, on the base here it goes from thick and it gets thinner and thinner and thinner up the top. And it's just super consistent. And the studies and the scans of these vases, we can show that tapering is very hard to achieve in a three-dimensional format, but it's extremely consistent and symmetrical. So you compare the symmetry and the perfection of this to that work, you can tell it's two different processes, two different industries. And then it's mixed together. And you get, even some of the alabaster though, is also used together.
This is the modern one, or this is the new one. They're both ancient. But this is the result from, like what we saw in the museum when we see before Imhotep and after. So the tools that is reflected on the walls of the old kingdom tools is behind this result.
Oh, what am I doing? That was fucking sad.
Yeah. Have it to ourselves. Very nice.
When they closed it, I was worried that we were not going to do this display once again.
Yeah.
Because this display
Tells
is
you
so
the
much
truth.
on our side
It is,
of the
yeah.
story.
It really
And
is.
it is divided by the academics themselves. Like there are the writers, I believe also the archaeologist that was working here, Lewis, when he started finding things of the archaic age of the bases with the archaic age names on it.
Yeah.
He said like we were more advanced than we should.
Yeah.
Because of the artifacts. And this is one conclusion.
Yes, that was
Look at this one here.
Jean Philippe Loyen. Yeah, I mean
It has two names of two different archaics as well. New Meter and the Hattusatna. The two names
yeah.
there.
What's the
It shows that it was being passed from one to the next to the next, and then they ended up in the gallery underneath the important.
Well, yeah, this is why they had to say up here that they were heirlooms, right? They know a lot of them came from the archaic age, and they were buried in a third dynasty structure or beneath one. The museum even breaks it into different categories for you on other sides of the same room. If you need more practical examples, you can visit any of the alabaster factories on the West Bank at Luxor, and they will proudly demonstrate to you the exact same primitive technique today, working in alabaster, albeit with steel tools. You know what they're not doing in these shops? Trying to use this method on granite, probably because they're not stupid. It's not all bad though. I did find it fairly hilarious when Flint tried to use his hands to demonstrate just how you could rub a wooden stick between your palms and achieve aerospace level precision in granite and diorite. So if nothing else, thanks for the giggle there. Returning back to this provenance topic, the idea that artifacts not in a museum can only be stolen or fake is, of course, nonsense. Antiquities have been bought and sold as long as there's been antiquities and money. Museums acquire artifacts from antiquities markets and dealers all the time. Tons of stuff in museums is on loan from private collections. You see those little plaques all the time. This collection is graciously on loan from this old, stupidly rich person who doesn't have room for it in the castle anymore. Also, not everything in museums just magically has impeccable provenance.
Oh, what? Come on.
Museum. Lots and lots of artifacts in museums are classified and dated according to form, style, stone type, those types of things, yet the little plaque next to it might say pre-dynastic or 26th dynasty. But in reality, we really have no idea exactly where it came from or of its history before it landed in a display case in a museum. It's generally all the same stuff. Of course, many artifacts do happen to have impeccable provenance, and in the shocking turn of events, the people on the internet yelling fake never seem to acknowledge that artifacts with impeccable provenance also exist in private collections. In fact, several such vessels have been analysed by the Vayscan project. Adam Young has a large vase dated well into pre-dynastic times by carbon-14 analysis of the burial that it was found in, and that was legitimately given to a Czech ambassador in the 1930s as a gift. People then die, estate sales happen, ultimately ends up in an auction house and onto the market, and in this case it was eventually acquired by Adam. Matt Bell also has several vessels with impeccable provenance, and several of those show incredible precision, like this one.
It goes back to 3650 to 3550 BC, so you're talking about a stone object that's essentially perfectly round. It's over 5,500 years old and predates the wave by over 2,000 years. It's made out of serpentine. The provenance is of the royal Tyler family in the state, who lived from 1884 to 1953. Basically, it's collecting in the 20s, as I understand it. And it does have some of these marks on the top up in here, similar to the thin objects. So I want to just show you the precision of this thing real quick. If we look at the lip and measure the lip, we've got 1.736 inches. Flip it 90 degrees, rotate to check the roundness. 1.7375. So 1.5 thousandths of an inch deviation between the X and Y axis on the lip. So super precise, super old, and really unique.
It's kind of stupid that I have to keep saying, but it's always been a stated goal of the Vayscan project from day one to get into museums, to analyse as many artifacts as possible and to analyse those with the best possible provenance. That work is ongoing and it's gaining traction. In 2024, Adam Young and other members of the Vayscan team spent 2 days in the Petrie Museum in London, using structured light scanners and doing photogrammetry on a number of artifacts. According to the curators of that museum, the many thousand-strong collection in the Petrie Museum, which is a teaching museum on the grounds of the University College of London, only represents the bottom 5, maybe 10% of Flinders Petrie's artifacts, his teaching stock, if you will. The good stuff he gave to his benefactors, his friends, or kept for himself, much of which, I'd wager, is still in private collections. I guess they must be fake then. The analysis work from this field trip is still ongoing, but here are the cliff notes from Adam Young directly. At least half the vases they analysed are precise, meaning they're in the same ballpark, low single-digit thousandths of an inch, as the other vases previously detailed on this channel. I wonder what the skeptics will have to say about that. Finally, let's look at this fake claim from a logical perspective. Logically, claiming these vases are modern forgeries makes zero sense when you consider what we know about them. The people making these claims never seem to want to deal with the fact, and yes, it's a fact, that these vases are, as we've established, incredibly precise. Think about it. If you're going to make fakes to sell on the antiquities market, why go to all that trouble and expense to make them so precisely? What about the radial traversal pattern? Why design them with such subtle mathematical elegance? If we were to make these today as they are, they would cost an absolute bomb, and it would take our best 5-axis machines, burning up expensive tooltips to grind into granite. You simply wouldn't go to these lengths if they are purely for profit. If you're just making fakes to sell on the antiquities market, then why not just pump them out from a Chinese lathe shop? They'd never be super precise, but who cares? No one was doing precision metrology or deep analysis on these vases until very recently. Let's not forget that even the least provenance vases do still have histories going back to the 1980s or the 1960s. That's still 40 to 60 years of known history. That's back in the times before we had computer-controlled 5-axis CNC mills. Do you think we could have made them with the precision that they show back then? Maybe, but it would take an incredibly talented craftsman, as these vases with their lug handles have very complex geometry. You can't just make them on a lathe alone. And in fact, evidence suggests that they had to have been made on a machine with 5 axes of freedom. Again, check out this video or Mark Vist's article if you want to dive into that topic. Also, and I swear this is my last point on this, back in the 1960s or the 1980s, vases like these just weren't worth very much, certainly relative to other antiquities. And that held true right up until fairly recently, really until I started publishing my vase videos. Before the true significance and precision of these things was discovered, unadorned plain stone vases really just weren't very valuable in antiquity markets. People want statuary, carvings, or things with writing on them. Artifacts that can readily and obviously be identified as coming from ancient Egypt. It's just way easier to flex on your fellow aristocrats that way. They're also extremely difficult to make compared to other potential fake antiquities. I don't think working in granite is particularly fun for anyone. The fact is, you just couldn't have made these in the 1960s or the 80s with their precision and sophistication and made any money by trying to pass them off as genuine. Now, I'm not saying that fake antiquities don't exist. They certainly do. But usually they're paintings or tile mosaics or things that are worth much more money and that can be made far more easily than 6-inch tall, geometrically complex, insanely precise granite goddamn vases. So, I don't think that arguing that these vases are fake makes any sense.
Come on,
whatsoever.
please.
Certainly not when you're considering the precision or the mathematical design that's behind them. Honestly, it doesn't even matter anymore, as this whole fake accusation can only really be levied against a small subset of the vases that
It's not very good. I thought I had way more
At
health.
this point, many of the scanned vases have just excellent provenance, or they've been ones that are in museums, like those in the Petrie Museum.
The double, come on. Really, it gave me the double back. I had one hope for this run, and that was not the double back, and I got the double back. So this is like done, pretty much. Probably PB pace. Oh wow. Yeah, that was definitely PB pace.
I traveled deep into the Amazonian region of Colombia to view some of the most amazing and controversial ancient rock art in the world. Some of the images on these walls have been dated to an incredible age of 12,000 years.
Alright y'all, we're about to go in this back cave here. I just had a 12-hour bus ride from Bogota to here. I'm gonna get a hamburguesa, some sleep, then we're going on an adventure tomorrow. Stay tuned.
This area of Colombia is extremely remote, which is probably one of the reasons these are so well preserved. The site itself is protected by guards at the national park, and you're required to have a guide before you view the paintings.
Cerro Azul. Muy bonito. Can we see it now, actually? Are we looking at
There's coloration and there are very few shapes.
But there are some.
The big row up there to the middle and down the tree.
Gotcha.
And there are other places, but in all we have like 5 or 6 different rows, but we're gonna visit only 4 of them.
Very nice.
And you can see
Aguaya.
Para la cámara.
Wow.
Oh.
Let me see. Por favor. Captured on that tree right there.
and they owned the poison
Mm.
in here.
Right.
And they use it with blow. They blow with a very strong long force the ground or the trunk.
That's cool. We're starting to climb quite a bit. This Cerro Azul is pretty high. It's really flatlands around here, and all of a sudden you just get this gigantic, what they call a hill. Oh, I had my first sight at the first pictographs. Okay, perfect. I'm thinking ahead.
No, but we will pass by and I'm going to show you one of the probable answers of how deep they get.
I mean, that's right there. That's 25 feet up.
In meters, I would say 7 meters.
Okay, yeah, it's about there. And then this one right here, even higher. And then these right here. Yeah, that's like 12 meters up.
Well, there is like a very beautiful day, 30 years ago. And there's been some fires around nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably why the lichens appear.
The lichen. So this lichen right here is starting to grow, and it's damaging these pictographs that have been here for 12,000 years. Yeah, at least. I mean, it's just unbelievable to think that these were made over 12,000 years ago, likely at least. Possibly older, right? Like,
as far as we know, the results
And I mean, the color is still strong. You know, these colors are still so strong. And you said, as of 30 years ago, they said this actually used to be a very vivid site that you can see. It's only been recently damaged by the lichen. Luckily, I think we're about to see some that are still well preserved.
The next one, because the main one is because of this conservation.
Come on, bro.
Wow. Let's go check it out. I've always wanted to see this for a very long time. Wow. Wow.
So the big controversy here is, are these really 12,600 years old? Look how well preserved they are. It's hard to believe that something that well preserved is that old. But the reason they got that date is because they actually found these flakes of this paint that you're seeing in a layer that was confirmed to be 12,600 years old. You're also going to see later in this video pictures of what many believe are Ice Age animals, including an Ice Age sloth. On the flip side, you're also going to see animals that look very much like horses. And as a result, some people think that these were made within the last 500 years after the conquistadors arrived in South America. One of the explanations given at the site for what could have preserved these so well is a type of paste mixed with some tree sap that really helped aid in preservation. And the reality is there's probably all kinds of different ages on this wall. Maybe they did find some that were 12,600 years old. I'm guessing the same materials used to make that red paint have been around throughout the dawn of time. And I'm guessing that people have always wanted to paint on these specific walls. Like I said, this is a very flat area of the country, and out of nowhere you have this giant cerro, or this hill, making it the perfect canvas for anybody that would live nearby.
So this is very a lot of iron material in this rock, soft rock, and that's why it's very easy to conserve in the rock the material because they absorb it very good. This is aqueous and relatives.
Which is what they use.
Sandstone. Iron sandstone.
And the result of the datation is made upon based on the
Iron
different
oxide.
materials they found. Seeds, bones.
Tiene de tres colores, una hoja amarilla, tiene una amarilla, una roja y otra con el color también.
Tres colores. Roja.
Colores de la pintura.
Crazy.
Gracias.
So the paint piece itself cannot be dated because they haven't found organic material. So they kind of apply carbon 14 for the paint datation. So the results are made on what they found of the human occupation in the base of the wall. And they have found also material related to the preparation of the
Not expecting this next part. This was one of my favorite parts of the trip. We go into this cave, a gigantic cave that I wasn't expecting. There was lots of bats. I will say though, I got really sick after this. I don't know if I got dengue fever or if I got something called histoplasmosis, which you can get an infection from inhaling airborne spores from bat droppings. So if you ever come out here, maybe wear a mask because this place is actually known for histoplasmosis.
la entrada, si nos vamos aquí para allá, son 215 metros, es oscuro, hay murciélagos.
That's funny.
Should I put my... Great. Very nice. Alright, y'all, we're about to go in this back cave here at Cerro Azul, 215 meters. We got our head torches. Oh yeah, looks short, doesn't it? Wash my hand. So much cooler in here.
Oh man.
Recently started to talk about this cave, like a place like communities used to prepare a child for child returns. So they said that they probably set the child in here for a period of time, maybe for 4 years, like a learning process, and after that they released them in the jungle at night, and if they came back to the town, they said that they were allowed to be child in the jungle. So that's what they say about this area. And we make this stuff, and we make the complete feel a little bit the environment, trying to feel a little bit the bats.
What is
If you
this?
have to go to the left side, or to the right side.
Okay, so I should contemplate left or right. Okay. Good. Well, guys, I said we should go right because that's what I was feeling the most during our meditation. Apparently, I was wrong. We're going left. Is that correct? I need to work on my meditation then, I guess. All right. La salida.
Oh, just water.
Gracias.
Once you can get to Ross's home after the food, and he will grab his ice, and he got like a rich ice for
Nothing too serious though?
Come on, man.
Yeah. Don't touch my eyes.
I was really wanting some hand sanitizer at this point. I was a little nervous, as you could tell. And rightfully so. I got sick after this. I don't know if it was COVID, but histoplasmosis is very common in Colombia, actually. So be prepared if you go out there.
You see the solid light in the horizon,
Yeah.
and you have a dark line of the blue, and you have a little line green line.
Yes.
This is the river.
This is just a 10-second ad for my book. I'll get you back to the video very shortly, but I wrote a book called Enigmatic North America, Legends, Oddities, and Controversial History. I think you'll really enjoy it. It'd be a great way to
the
support my
need,
work, and I'll
the
have a
lucky
link in the
need.
bio and the description.
In the entire area,
That need was so lucky.
they talk about 50 different places, but there are probably more.
I think I'm too far back.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, what? It's like, come on. That was dumb.
But you all do call it the dinosaur. Yeah? Yeah, 007, there you go. So sorry everybody. Right here.
I don't know. I might go for another like
You know, in America,
5 minutes
there
maybe.
are several petroglyphs that kind of look like dinosaurs. But it's actually large numbers.
Maybe less.
I don't necessarily think they are.
Maybe one more good mainframe. Maybe.
Yes.
What the fuck?
That says that those animals, it was looking like the match, the representation with local animals, that this is sometimes easy to match. But in these shapes, you will find
Like
animals.
what?
Like a painting of the 16th century, a Dutch painting of the 17th century, that represents the moment when two Dutch expeditions comes from Europe. So it's like a painting of the preparing the expedition to America. And in the middle corner of the painting, we have the painting as a big
Fuck.
dot.
So he thinks these ones are only 500 years old. Interesting.
That happens also with the, sometimes you can see here, the shape of a ball. Bull. And we haven't had bulls in America before.
It almost looks like a North American mountain goat, I thought at first glance. Just with it looks like it has horns here, like. Yeah, kind of. I know.
Like who? Why?
So, this one also might be noticing.
But we don't know that. I don't think that it is a cow, but if it's a cow, it's easy. But we just hope we have this man in very good fish.
What's he doing exactly? Yeah, what's he doing?
Super psychedelic. That's crazy.
And you remember the first recipe?
Yes. How did they get these so high?
Come on.
This seems to be a repeating symbol right here.
This is one of the most famous images on the panel here. What you're seeing is what many think is an Ice Age sloth, which lived in the area about 8,000 years ago. You can see how big it is compared to the people nearby, which has many people believing it's a giant sloth.
Yeah.
Porcupine. All these little. Yikes. Mona? We're looking for monkeys right now. We've heard them, and I just saw one. Oh.
Fucking bullshit.
Many results were given by this excavation.
So this is where there's some of the years of 12,000 years.
This was 12,000 years. exactly the same group, the same excavation team, made another one here, remember? And they gave us some material. We don't have what the results of that study. And they have some expectations to go into
14,000 years.
Howler.
This is so dope. Is it common to see as many monkeys as we've seen?
It's quite common to see monkeys.
Good. That's good.
Sometimes we are more lucky.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got to see them. This has been incredible, but this is like a cherry on top, you know? This is excellent.
Sometimes when they're not from the same family, they have a confrontation.
Yeah, they'll have a war with each other.
The horse head.
Ah, where is this at?
You see the...
So this is possibly made after the Spanish arrived or when horses lived in America.
This is a horse, then I would guess that it's probably after the Spanish arrived. These are pretty well preserved, but I'm open-minded to anything. They did find nearby flakes of this paint in layers that were 12,000 years old. So once again, you're seeing why this is such a controversial site. You have all kinds of opinions on the age of these paintings. They're so well preserved. I understand why people would think that they weren't 12,000 years old. But then you have those possible Ice Age animals there, and you have the datings.
We got to see some monkeys. Got to see a jaguar crossing. Went into a cave. Was not expecting that. My guides have been incredible. Marcel's who you want to come out here with. Excellent English translator and guide. This has been spectacular.
So hungry after this. I didn't eat breakfast that morning. Right here you're looking at some rice, some fried plantain, and some chicken, and it was delicious. This was part of the tour. They feed you lunch afterwards. It always has the best rotisserie chicken on deck. This cost me about $2 for half a chicken. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe. I had so much fun on this journey, and I appreciate your support.
Come on, bro. Oh, come on. I got like boosted into the thing, like... Come on. Maybe more look down would have been better. I might be done, honestly. I don't know, I might do like one more run.
Eat breakfast that morning. Right here you're looking at...
Hey everybody, I'm here with my amigo Jose.
8 minutes.
He's my taxi driver that gave me a ride here. Hola.
8-minute video, I'm
I
gonna play
found
8
this place on
minutes
Google
more.
Earth that we're going to. These ruins that I just were stumbling upon. I was looking out in the dunes on the Google Earth and saw this ruinas. And there are ancient pueblos out here that you can very well see from Google Earth, from satellite imagery. I got my drone, and we're gonna go check them out.
way here. There might have been an easier way to get to this. I don't know. We'll see. But I just told him to take me via Google Maps. And we are walking in a very interesting area right now. But these dunes out here in Ica, Peru, no joke. My friend Jose here offered to be my companion on this hike. I said, please, let's do it. Made me feel a lot better once he said that. Looks like there's somebody else out here hiking it.
Oh, double down.
Wow.
All right. Area where all these rocks that have been used to create these pueblos.
Okay. We're starting to see our first example of ancient ruins here. This is a pueblo right here, and there's a whole bunch more going all the way up this mountain.
Everybody, this is just a 10-second ad for my book, Enigmatic North America, Legends, Oddities, and Controversial History. If you'd like to support my work, I think you'll enjoy this. Let's get back to the show.
Unfortunately, I'm unable to fly the drone today. We must be near an airport or something because it wouldn't even let me put it up. It was an unauthorized zone, which is actually a cool feature of the drone itself. I don't want to fly somewhere I'm not supposed to be flying. I don't want to get in trouble. So we're just going to explore on the ground today. It'd be really cool to see these from the air, but that's just the way it works today. So no big deal. We're right here. Let's go check them out.
Really? I don't know that movie.
I'm looking for artifacts and pottery.
Dude, did I tell you they rejected my OnlyFans account? I wanted to make it with AI nude
This
women,
entire thing,
and they rejected
it was one connected pueblo wall to wall the entire time. Like
Oh
this
wow,
whole thing
really?
would have been connected, and really,
That's really
one
eerie.
giant building going all the way, not the entire way up that mountain.
Yeah, a really
Far
interesting
up.
social
It's really
commentary, I'm
never
sure.
ending. And here,
I don't know these people. I don't know who Belle Delphine is. I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. The bath water.
there's a pretty good one. Seashell. Would you look at that? An ancient form of currency. Antiguo dinero. Dinero antiguo.
Claro, dinero antiguo. Actualización.
excellent preservation. Look at that. Still see the designs on these. See? Let's see what we found over here. Some more pottery. Yeah, this whole place is just full. It's almost like where they were making it. We're finding all these charcoal pieces.
I think I'm done, like, for tonight.
Fire. Here's another seashell. Wow. That's in wild balls.
Okay, this is the last run. Come on, man. Like, fuck this game. Okay, thanks. I might stream tomorrow. Because I need to back up all my
Just like
highlights on
people lived
Twitch.
in these
I have
gyms
3,200 hours of highlights.
still today.
And I tried to mass upload to YouTube and it didn't work, so I'm gonna probably stream me uploading it. 'Cause, like, I'm gonna have to do it for like hours and hours. I think my goal, I should target streams I want to save first, like my Miami streams, the Las Vegas weightlifting stream,
That was amazing.
the
Unfortunately, I wasn't
Dickiscan
able to fly the drone, but safety
calisthenics
first,
stream.
and I was not expecting us to find. I thought we'd find some pottery, but I wasn't expecting us
Dog,
to
alright.
find what we found.
Oh my god. Belle Delphine. I'm gonna Google that right now. Oh wow. Oh wow is what I have to say. Thank you, thank you, thank you.